Imagine this. You work tirelessly, doing everything right, yet money seems to slip through your fingers. Bills pile up, sleep becomes a luxury, and the fear of bankruptcy becomes a constant shadow. It's not just bad management, or perhaps not at all. What if the system was designed for you to fail? Get ready to uncover how taxes, banks, and even franchises can push small businesses to the brink. In an analysis that will change your perspective on financial success and resilience. The heavy office air seemed to drain Sarah's energy. Her eyes scanned the growing pile of unpaid bills, each paper a cruel reminder that her once thriving graphic design business was now on life support. She remembered when enthusiasm was palpable, the innovative projects, and the client's praises. But for the past 6 months, something had shifted. Profit disappeared. Fixed expenses seemed to swallow everything, and with each call from the bank, a chill ran down her spine. Sarah didn't know what was worse, the shame of failing or the silent panic of not knowing how to escape this spiral. In her mind, she was a good entrepreneur, dedicated and creative. Why, then, was she on the brink of an abyss? Sarah, a talented designer from Boise, Idaho, had built her studio from the ground up. With an enviable portfolio and loyal clientele, she believed she was immune to the common pitfalls of entrepreneurship. However, the warning signs began to appear subtly, almost imperceptibly amidst the daily rush. First, it was the drop in cash flow. Projects that once paid up front now had increasingly long payment terms. Receive in 90 days became routine, and the money for daily operations, like payroll and rent, began to dwindle. She found herself constantly transferring money from her personal account to her business account, a thin line that, according to experts, should never be crossed. In the United States, about 20% of small businesses don't survive their first year, and one of the most alarming reasons is precisely poor cash flow management. The problem analysis reveals that, often, entrepreneurs like Sarah fall into the trap of false prosperity. A high volume of sales does not necessarily mean profit or financial health. In her case, Sarah had invested heavily in new software and state-of-the-art equipment, anticipating a demand that didn't materialize as quickly as expected. She also failed to adjust her pricing table to keep up with rising operational costs and inflation. Data from the Small Business Administration indicates that failures in financial management, including inadequate pricing and expense control, are responsible for nearly 82% of small business bankruptcies. Sarah also ignored basic financial reports, the income statement, which shows profit or loss, and the balance sheet, which presents assets and liabilities. She relied on her intuition, a dangerous approach in a competitive business environment. The overcoming technique for Sarah began with the harsh reality of a brutal self-assessment. She sought the help of a financial consultant, something many entrepreneurs avoid out of fear or shame. The consultant made her look at the numbers transparently. The first strategy was to implement a strict budget. This meant cutting unnecessary expenses, renegotiating contracts with suppliers, and, crucially, reviewing her pricing structure. She realized she was underpricing her work in an attempt to attract more clients, a common mistake that drains profit margins. A Fundera survey revealed that 58% of small businesses fail because they cannot price their products or services correctly. The second strategy was client profitability analysis. Sarah discovered that some of her most loyal clients were actually the least profitable due to high demand for revisions and tight deadlines. She learned to say no to projects that didn't fit her new cost structure and to focus on clients who valued her work and paid on time. The consultant helped her create a projected cash flow map for the next 6 months, allowing her to visualize periods of scarcity and prepare for them, seeking emergency lines of credit with lower interest rates if necessary. Furthermore, she established an emergency reserve fund, something 65% of American small businesses lack, according to JP Morgan Chase. The lesson Sarah learned was painful but transformative. Financial success is not just about having a good product or service, but about having impeccable financial control. The concrete result was slow but visible. In 6 months, Sarah not only stabilized her company's cash flow, but also managed to renegotiate some debts and, more importantly, regained her peace of mind. She began to see numbers not as enemies, but as vital tools for strategic decision-making. The red alert, which was once a panic siren, became a guide to sustainability. She learned that identifying early signs of financial trouble, such as delayed payments, reliance on credit, lack of reserves, and confusion between personal and business finances, is the first and most crucial step to avoid bankruptcy and reverse the situation before it is too late. The weight of the world had lifted, but the path ahead was still steep for David. A seasoned carpenter from Raleigh, North Carolina, David had built his small construction business, Carolina Woodworks, from a dream into a respected local enterprise. Yet, like many small business owners, he'd been blindsided. A major client's unexpected bankruptcy left him with a 6-figure unpaid invoice, sending a shockwave through his finances. Suddenly, the once steady flow of projects dried up. Suppliers demanded upfront payments, and his carefully managed payroll became a crushing burden. He remembered staring at his workshop late one night, the tools glinting in the dim light, feeling a profound sense of failure. His savings were gone, his credit score plummeting, and the calls from creditors were relentless. David was a good man, a skilled craftsman, but the system, it seemed, had dealt him a harsh blow. David's story isn't unique. Thousands of small businesses across the U.S. face similar abrupt downturns, often triggered by external shocks. While the initial instinct might be to panic or freeze, true recovery demands swift, decisive action. For David, the first step in his recovery was the hardest, acknowledging the depth of the crisis and seeking external help. Pride often keeps entrepreneurs from admitting financial distress, but statistics show that those who seek professional guidance early have a significantly higher chance of survival. A study by the American Bankruptcy Institute revealed that businesses that engage in financial restructuring or seek professional advice early on can increase their chances of avoiding liquidation by up to 50%. David swallowed his pride and reached out to a nonprofit business advisory service he'd heard about. The core problem for David was a severe liquidity crisis. He didn't have enough immediate cash to cover his obligations. This often stems from a combination of poor cash flow management, unexpected large losses, or a general economic downturn. His business was profitable on paper before the client's default, but profit doesn't pay bills. Cash does. Furthermore, David had relied heavily on a single large client, a common vulnerability. The U.S. Chamber of Commerce reported that over-reliance on a few key clients is a significant risk factor for small businesses, contributing to 1 in 5 business failures. The method of overcoming this crisis involved a multi-pronged strategy. First, David's advisor helped him implement aggressive cost-cutting measures. This meant scrutinizing every single expense, no matter how small. He temporarily scaled back his workshop lease to a smaller, more affordable space, negotiated discounts with his remaining suppliers, and, most painfully, had to temporarily lay off 2 part-time employees. These were difficult decisions, but absolutely essential for stemming the bleeding. According to industry analyses, reducing operating expenses by even 10 to 15% can provide crucial breathing room for businesses in distress. Next, they focused on revenue generation and diversification. David's advisor pushed him to actively seek smaller, more frequent projects from a wider range of clients, reducing his dependence on any single source. He diversified his service offerings, taking on smaller repair jobs and custom furniture commissions that provided quicker cash infusions. He also implemented a stricter payment policy, requiring partial upfront payments for all new projects and offering small discounts for early payments, a strategy that significantly improved his incoming cash flow. Improving cash collection efficiency can boost a company's available cash by 15 to 20% within a few months, as seen in various industry turnaround cases. Finally, and perhaps most critically, David engaged in proactive creditor negotiations. Instead of avoiding calls, he started answering them, explaining his situation honestly and proposing realistic payment plans. Many creditors, especially local ones, are more willing to work with a business owner who's transparent and committed to repayment, rather than forcing them into bankruptcy. He prioritized essential suppliers and those willing to offer more flexible terms. This direct communication not only bought him time, but also preserved valuable business relationships for the future. The practical conclusion for David was a testament to resilience and strategic action. He learned that financial recovery is less about magic bullets and more about disciplined planning, radical honesty, and relentless execution. Within a year, Carolina Woodworks was not only back on its feet but stronger than ever. David had a more diversified client base, a leaner operational structure, and a robust cash reserve. He no longer feared the unexpected, understanding that even the best intentions can be derailed by external forces, but that proactive, data-driven recovery strategies can turn impending collapse into renewed strength. His experience taught him that getting out of the hole isn't about avoiding the fall, but about having the right tools and the courage to dig. Emily, a bright and ambitious teacher from Portland, Oregon, thought she had it all figured out. She'd landed her dream job, bought a charming little house with a responsible mortgage, and even had a small savings account for emergencies. Yet, a creeping unease began to settle over her. She watched friends her age buying new cars, taking exotic vacations, and upgrading their homes, while she felt perpetually behind, despite her seemingly sound choices. Her credit card balances, initially for small, manageable expenses, were subtly growing. The student loan debt, which seemed a distant problem during college, loomed larger with each monthly statement. Emily wasn't reckless, but she certainly wasn't thriving either. The whispers of financial anxiety started small, but they were quickly becoming a roar, fueled by a nagging feeling that she was missing a fundamental piece of the puzzle, a piece her schooling had never provided. Emily's dilemma highlights a widespread issue in the United States: the lack of comprehensive financial education. While schools teach history, math, and science, practical money management often takes a back seat, leaving millions of well-intentioned individuals vulnerable to common financial pitfalls. This absence of foundational knowledge means that many people, just like Emily, learn about finances through trial and error, often after making costly mistakes. A recent study by the National Financial Educators Council found that the average American adult lacks proficiency in key areas of personal finance, with a significant portion unable to accurately answer basic questions about debt, inflation, and interest rates. This knowledge gap is a systemic problem, paving the way for individuals to fall into debt traps and miss opportunities for wealth accumulation. The core problem wasn't Emily's income. It was her financial literacy. She understood saving, but not investing. She understood debt repayment, but not strategic debt management. She also fell victim to lifestyle inflation, a subtle trap where increased income leads to increased spending, negating any potential for greater savings. Her credit card usage, while initially for conveniences, morphed into bridging gaps between paychecks, a classic sign of financial strain. According to the Federal Reserve, credit card debt in the U.S. reached a record high of over $1.13 trillion in 2024, underscoring how easily many fall into this cycle. Emily also didn't fully grasp the power of compound interest, both as a friend and a foe. The method of overcoming these common mistakes starts with proactive self-education. For Emily, this began with a simple step: reading books, and attending free online webinars on personal finance. She learned about budgeting methods, the difference between good and bad debt, and the importance of an emergency fund. She discovered the 50-30-20 rule, a practical framework that gave her spending purpose. This structured approach to budgeting, surprisingly simple, is often overlooked. Financial experts note that only about 41% of Americans use a budget, which leaves a vast majority without a clear financial roadmap. Next, Emily tackled her debt strategically. Instead of just making minimum payments, she adopted the debt snowball method, where she paid off the smallest debt first to gain psychological momentum, then rolled that payment into the next smallest debt. While the debt avalanche is mathematically more efficient, the snowball method offered her the quick wins she needed to stay motivated. She also started making extra payments on her student loans whenever possible, understanding that reducing the principal would significantly cut down on the total interest paid over time. Data from the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau shows that aggressive debt repayment strategies can save consumers thousands in interest and significantly reduce repayment timelines. Finally, Emily focused on building her financial resilience. She opened a separate high-yield savings account exclusively for her emergency fund, aiming for 3 to 6 months of living expenses. This acted as a crucial buffer against unexpected job losses or medical emergencies, reducing her reliance on credit cards for crises. She also began automating her savings and investment contributions, even if they were small amounts initially. This pay-yourself-first approach ensures that saving isn't an afterthought but a priority. Studies consistently show that automating savings is one of the most effective ways to build wealth, with participants saving 2 to 3 times more than those who rely on manual transfers. The practical conclusion for Emily was profound. Financial education isn't a luxury. It's a necessity for true independence and security. She learned that ignorance, however unintentional, can be more damaging than misfortune. By actively seeking knowledge and applying practical strategies, she transformed her financial outlook. Her credit card debt was gone, her emergency fund was robust, and she had a clear plan for investing for her future. Emily's journey demonstrated that even when the system seems designed to keep you struggling, empowering yourself with the right financial knowledge is the ultimate antidote to common pitfalls, allowing you to build a resilient and thriving financial life, one informed decision at a time. Mark, a dedicated paramedic from Orlando, Florida, loved his job. The adrenaline, the ability to help people in their darkest hours, it fueled him. But the reality of his financial situation was a constant, dull ache. With a modest salary, 2 growing kids, and the ever-present weight of student loan debt from his training, he found himself living paycheck to paycheck. His dream was to buy a small piece of land and build a sustainable home for his family. But that dream felt light years away. He often scrolled through social media, seeing friends boast about side hustles and crypto gains, feeling a mix of envy and frustration. He worked long hours. Where would he even find the time for extra income and investments? That sounded like something for the wealthy, not for someone just trying to make ends meet. Mark was stuck in a financial rut, not because he was irresponsible, but because he hadn't yet unlocked the power of diversified income and strategic growth. Mark's situation reflects a common challenge for many in the middle class. A single income stream, no matter how stable, often isn't enough to build significant wealth or achieve long-term financial goals in today's economy. While the traditional advice focuses solely on saving from a primary job, the modern financial landscape increasingly demands a more dynamic approach. The problem wasn't that Mark spent too much. It was that he didn't have enough coming in to create a surplus for meaningful savings and investments. According to a recent survey by Bankruptcy, 44% of Americans have a side hustle, indicating a growing trend towards supplementing primary incomes. This isn't just about survival. For many, It's about accelerating debt repayment, building emergency funds, and eventually investing. The core issue Mark faced was a lack of financial leverage and diversification. He relied solely on his paramedic salary, which, while steady, offered limited growth potential. He also viewed investments as a high-risk, complex endeavor reserved for experts, rather than a fundamental tool for wealth building. This mindset, unfortunately, is prevalent. A study by Gallup found that only 58% of Americans own stock, often due to perceived risk, lack of knowledge, or belief that one needs significant capital to start. This fear or ignorance about investing means many miss out on the power of compounding and long-term market growth. The method for overcoming this stagnant financial position for Mark began with exploring realistic extra income streams. His advisor, a financial planner specializing in helping middle-income families, helped him identify opportunities that leveraged his existing skills and available time. Given his medical background, Mark started offering first aid and CPR training courses to local businesses and community groups on his days off. This required minimal upfront investment and provided immediate, tangible income. He also explored gig economy options, like medical transport services during his free evenings, where his paramedic license was an asset. The key was to start small and incrementally, rather than seeking a grand, time-consuming venture. Many successful side hustles begin with leveraging existing expertise, turning a passion or a skill into a source of cash. Next, Mark delved into smart, long-term investment strategies. His advisor demystified the world of investing, explaining that it wasn't just for the rich. They started with the basics, setting up a Roth IRA, an individual retirement account that offers tax-free growth and withdrawals in retirement, funded by automated small contributions from his new side income. They then moved to a diversified portfolio of low-cost index funds, which track broad market segments and offer broad diversification with minimal fees. This strategy, favored by legendary investors like Warren Buffett, provides long-term growth potential without requiring daily market monitoring. Automated contributions, even just $50 or $100 per paycheck, were critical. The power of compounding interest over decades can turn small, consistent investments into substantial wealth. For instance, an average annual return of 7% can double an investment every decade. Finally, Mark learned about the importance of minimizing investment fees and avoiding speculative trends. He understood that actively managed funds often charge higher fees, which can significantly erode returns over time. His focus shifted from trying to get rich quick to a patient, disciplined approach of consistent contributions to diversified, low-cost funds. He also made a conscious effort to pay down his high-interest student loan debt concurrently, recognizing that the guaranteed return of eliminating high-interest debt was often better than the variable returns of initial investments. The practical conclusion for Mark was truly empowering. He learned that financial freedom isn't solely about drastic budget cuts, but about proactively increasing income and intelligently growing existing capital. Within 2 years, his side hustles were consistently adding an extra $1,000, $1,500 to his monthly income. This additional cash allowed him to accelerate his debt repayment, fully fund his emergency savings, and steadily build his investment portfolio. Mark's dream of owning land no longer felt unattainable. It felt like a well-defined goal he was actively working towards. His journey proved that even with a modest primary salary, anyone can build significant financial resilience and wealth by creatively seeking extra income and embracing the disciplined, long-term power of smart investing, turning small steps into a giant leap toward financial independence. Lisa, a dedicated nurse practitioner in Denver, Colorado, had finally reached a place of financial stability. After years of careful budgeting, strategic debt repayment, and smart investments, her emergency fund was robust. Her retirement accounts were growing steadily, And she even had a modest down payment saved for a vacation cabin in the mountains. The acute anxiety that once plagued her had faded, replaced by a quiet confidence. Yet, a new subtle fear began to emerge: how to maintain this security. She'd seen friends fall back into old habits, succumb to unexpected life events, or get caught off guard by economic shifts. Lisa wasn't content with just reaching financial stability. She wanted to build a fortress, a system that would safeguard her future against the inevitable uncertainties of life and the economy. Lisa's concern is valid and widely shared. Achieving financial security is a significant accomplishment, but maintaining it requires ongoing vigilance and a proactive strategy. Many individuals and businesses, once out of crisis, relax their guard, making them vulnerable to future setbacks. The economic landscape is constantly shifting, with inflation, market volatility, and unexpected personal expenses always lurking. The problem isn't a lack of effort. It's often the absence of a robust, adaptive long-term financial strategy. Studies show that a significant percentage of individuals who successfully pay off debt often accumulate it again within a few years, if they do and change underlying behaviors and establish resilient financial habits. The core challenge Lisa faced was the need for sustained financial discipline and proactive risk management. While she had built a solid foundation, she needed to implement systems that would safeguard her against lifestyle creep, unforeseen emergencies, and broader economic downturns. She also needed to plan for long-term wealth preservation and growth, moving beyond just accumulation. Many people get caught in the trap of focusing solely on the now of finances, neglecting the crucial what if and then. The method for building a sustainable financial future for Lisa involved a shift from reactive problem-solving to proactive, strategic planning. Her financial advisor helped her implement several key practices. First, she established an annual financial review. This wasn't just about checking balances. It involved a comprehensive look at her budget, investment performance, insurance coverage, and estate planning documents. This yearly checkup allowed her to identify potential weak spots, adjust her budget for inflation or changing goals, and ensure her portfolio remained aligned with her risk tolerance and long-term objectives. Think of it like an annual physical for your money. Second, Lisa adopted a strategy of financial shock absorbers. Beyond her initial emergency fund, she started building additional reserves for specific larger potential expenses, such as future home repairs, car replacements, or potential medical costs not fully covered by insurance. This diversified her savings, preventing her primary emergency fund from being depleted by predictable but large outlays. She also reviewed her insurance policies to ensure adequate coverage, recognizing that underinsurance is a silent threat to financial security. Many people overlook the vital role of disability or long-term care insurance in protecting their income and assets. Third, she focused on continuous financial education and adaptation. The financial world evolves, and staying informed is crucial. Lisa committed to reading reputable financial news, attending webinars on new investment strategies, and periodically consulting with her advisor. This kept her aware of economic trends, potential market shifts, and new opportunities for wealth preservation. She also learned about tax-efficient investing strategies, ensuring that her hard-earned money wasn't unnecessarily eroded by taxes. For instance, maximizing contributions to tax-advantaged accounts like 401s and IRAs, and understanding capital gains taxes are vital for long-term growth. The practical conclusion for Lisa was the realization that financial security is an ongoing journey, not a destination. By embracing regular reviews, building multiple layers of financial protection, and committing to lifelong learning, she forged a robust system that could withstand various challenges. Her investment portfolio continued to grow through market ups and downs. Her various savings buckets provided peace of mind, and she felt empowered, not anxious, about her financial future. Lisa learned that staying financially secure means being proactive, disciplined, and adaptable. It's about building a strong foundation and then continually reinforcing it, ensuring that life's inevitable curveballs don't derail years of hard-won progress, allowing one to truly build and sustain a future of financial freedom.